let's create authentication so users can sign up and also sign in. So the first thing we should do is create the tables, but first of all, let me show you the structure of the whole project, because the structure currently is a bit different. So take a look here, this is our main file, and here, in order not to put the whole code under the same file, we are using what is called blueprints. So this is our first blueprint, and once we go here, Flask will redirect us to this file, and here we can use the routes we are looking to use, of course. And the first route I will create now is the register route, which allows us to register users. Here is the file which is responsible for connecting to the database and allowing us to use the database. And here is the connection string. This is the Postgres protocol, the username, the password, and the address. And in the end, we have our database here, which is called guide. And take a look at this. As you can see now, we are using a pool, a connection pool. When using a pool, all what we do is that whenever we have a new request, we borrow a connection from the pool, and then once the request is finished, we release the connection back to the pool so other people can use it. Okay, so here we specify the URL for the database, so it allows us to connect to the database, and here, number one, it represents the minimum amount of connections, so we will always have at least one active connection, and here it represents the maximum amount of active connections. This technique is very good for production, and it is what is being used nowadays. Let's start creating our authentication. So the first thing I will do is create the table for the users. So I can do create table users, and the first column is going to be an ID, and the second one, username, is going to be of a type text, not null, and unique, of course. The third one is going to be password, which is also going to have the data type text, and it is going to be not null as well. And the third one is the user role. So I will make it not null as well, and I will specify a default value. The default value is going to be guest, and then I will make sure that there are only couple of roles which are available. So let's do it. Check, and I will declare it here, role in. So the only possible roles are admin and guest. Those are the available roles now, and it will be good for us for later for declaring permissions and much more. So for example, we can have specific routes which require admin. So then in order to do that, we should make sure that those roles are there. Currently, we want that in our web application, we will have only two possible roles, which are admin and guest. And that's what we do here. It will not be possible for us to insert a row which has a different value, which is not admin or guest. I forgot to add here the data type, which is text, so make sure to add it. And now let's copy and paste it into Postgres. And the table has been created successfully. We can move on and start building our authentication. Here is the route which is responsible for registering users. In order to go to this route, we should go to api/v1/at and specify register. Now let's make sure to register users. So the first thing I will do is take the data from the request. So I can do request and specify the get.json method. Make sure to change this from get to post. The only available method for this endpoint is post. So here we specify the available methods, and we are ready. Okay, and as you can see down there, we can see the values. Let's extract them. I will declare a variable for each one. So let's do it. Username, and we can do data get username. And then let's make another one, which is for password, so that we can get the requested password. Now we should save the password and the username into the database, but we should make sure that we hash the password. We should never store a password in the database as is, because that we should assume that at some point a hacker will go and hack into our database, and that's why we should never store plain passwords. Let's hash our password. So I will make a variable which is called hashed password, and I will use bcrypt in order to hash the password, and then I will print it so you can see how it looks. Let's call the hash password method and specify our password, but first of all we should extract the password and the username from the data object. So I can do data and get and specify password, and I will do the same thing for the username, data.get username. Okay, now we have the password and we should hash it. Let's specify the password and we should encode it. So let's do encode UTF-8, and here we should specify the hashing algorithm, which is bcrypt gen salt. We should call it here, and here we should call decode, and also again specify UTF-8 so that our hashed password will be in a good format. And before saving it into the database, let's just print it and let's send a request again. As you can see, here is our hashed password, and once the password has been hashed, no matter what we do, we cannot revert it. So that's how hashing works. It is different than encryption, because that once you encrypt something, if you have a certain key or a secret, you can revert and see the original value, but once you use hashing, you can't. We cannot turn this password, the hashed password, back to the original password. And now let's save the actual user into the database. So we should start writing our SQL code. So I can do cursor and call the execute method, and I can just do insert into users. I will specify the username and password columns, and I will specify the values. Okay, and let's use our variables. So the first variable is the username, and then here, as you can see, we store the hashed password. Make sure to store the hashed password and not the normal password. Okay, let's do returning username. We will return the username. And let's see, it seems like everything is correct. I will make sure to remove all the unnecessary things which are not needed. Okay, in the end, in order to commit the changes, we should call Postgres commit, and we are quite ready. Let's go and test our route. Okay, and we can go and take a look at the database. So let's do it. Let's open our database. We can do /L to see all the databases, and let's go to guide. Now we can do select all from users, and as you can see, here is our new user, but I would love to change the response. So I will do this response and cursor dot fetch one to fetch the newly created record. Now I will just print the response, and I would love to see how it goes. I will just insert another user. Okay, so here is our response. I will get the user name from the response, so it's the first element, and I will do this. I will use the f string, and I can do user and specify the username. has been registered. Now it will give us a nice message to the client. Let's register again. And as you can see, user tester has been registered. Okay, so we already have step number 1. We managed to make it possible for users to register, and now we should make it possible for them to log in. So I will show you the whole process. We will take the exact same route, but we will change it from register to login. I will duplicate the tab in Postman. Make sure to work with Postman as well. It is a very good tool. And this is the user we just created. I will try to log in with the same user. Okay, so here we also take the username and the password, but now we will have to load the hashed password from the database, and then we will have to compare it with the password in the request. What we will do is this. We cannot compare this password with a complete hashed password, right? So we will also hash this password and then compare the two hashed passwords. If they are the same, the user will be able to log in. If they are not the same, he will not be able to log in. Let's remove this. Now we should also delete here. I will just say data just for now. And let's do this. We should do cursor.execute and do select all from users where username is equivalent to this. And we should, of course, specify the username which comes from the request. And now we should fetch this. So let's do fetch 1. Okay, I will put it under the response variable and I will print the response. Also, make sure to have a distinct function name for each route. So I accidentally called it registered. I will change it to login. I cannot have two functions with the same name. It will throw an error. And let's run our code. Okay, and I will test this route. Let's go to Postman. Let's try to simulate a login. And as you can see, here we have our values, and here is our encrypted password. Now I will just extract all the fields from this, from the response. Let's take the user ID, for example. We will start with the first element, which is the user ID. So I can do user ID and take the first index, which is 0, of course. Then the next item is the user name. So I can do user and underscore name. And I will do response and I will use index number 1. Then, of course, the password, user underscore password. And here we will use number 2 to extract the third element. As you already know, it starts from 0. So ID is 0, tester is 1, and our hashed password is located at number 2. Now, the final element, which is the role, I can do user underscore role and do response and get the last index. Okay, so here we have managed to extract all the values into variables. Now what I am going to do is this. We will make a comparison between the password which was specified in the request to the password which came from the database. Since the user password, the password from the database is already hashed, we will have to hash password as well, and then compare the two hashed passwords. In order to do it, we can do this. We can do if and then call bcrypt and call the check password method on it, and it accepts two items. So let's insert our passwords there. We should first insert the password which came for the request. So let's do it. Password, and of course I will encode it with UTF-8, and then we will specify the second password, which is the password from the database, and I will encode it as well. So UTF-8 as well, and here I will print password match, and let's try to run it now. I will turn on the API again, and as you can see, we got passwords match. So if passwords match, we will return a token to the user, a JWT token, and in order to access the API, the user will need to specify the token. Otherwise, we can return this login as failed. Okay, and here let's simulate a token. Here I will put 401 unauthorized, and here we can do JSONify and simulate a token. Let's simulate a token and give a status code of 200. Protecting your web application with a token is a security standard nowadays. I can show you, for example, that I have made a web application and I also use it in this web application. So user must specify a token. This is a middleware. What you see here is quite irrelevant, but this is a middleware which requires a token to be sent with the request. So this is what we will do in our backend in Python. We will make sure that in order to access a certain route, people should specify a token. Otherwise, they will not be able to access the routes.